Hello, we are making some more recipes from Dinner Time Live, our live cooking show on Netflix that you can catch every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Today, Andrew and I are gonna be making some of the recipes from episode 115, Steak and Sensibility, the menu that these guys came up with, loosely based on the Vietnamese concept of 7 courses of beef, including a pot roast.
That's one of them.
That's sort of like Bo Kho.
Our interpretation.
Yes, exactly.
That is a 3-pound chuck roast.
It is hilariously geometric in shape here, right? Like, so Dave loves chuck roast, we love chuck roast. Lots of different muscles going on, lots of gelatin, collagen, delicious stuff in there. But step one was pretty simple. So what was that? That was just season it.
That's seasoning it with salt and pepper?
If I may, I think that Mr. Chang probably went a little savory salt on there too. Just stop pushing it toward me, you do it.
Did we sear it first or just?
You did not sear it. I think you just go straight in the oven with it.
Hot?
Not even hot. So this is Chang's favorite chuck roast method. He's done it a lot ever since, probably since like pandemic is mostly when I saw him starting to make this thing, but it is, I didn't know what a pot roast was. Did you grow up eating pot roast?
Only a few times, and it was always cooked in a crock pot.
Yeah, so this is different. This is not a crock pot, but it is a pot, and you can roast things in the pot, hence pot roast. And the cool thing that I never really understood is like, even if you keep it covered, the thing will still brown.
Yeah.
If you peek at it after an hour, it'll just be a gray log, but 2-3 hours in, it will be deep, dark brown, beautiful pot roast. So that's the start of this whole entire recipe is just.
Do we want to turn it or flip it at all during that roasting
It doesn't
process?
need it.
No?
It doesn't need it at all.
So that's surprising.
Lots of seasoning because like, ordinarily, you can do this 2-3 days ahead if you want. Season.
Oh, yeah.
And just cure it.
Well, yeah.
Like if you're gonna serve this as a roast, meaning like just pull it out, slice it, you probably wanna do that so like the seasoning penetrates throughout. Yeah. This is gonna end up getting sliced and then placed back into our kind of like stew. I'm not too worried about seasoning
We'll
being.
be adjusting it as it's breaking down.
But if you're gonna serve this as a roast, I would do this and let it sit in the fridge.
Yeah, I would say or at least an hour minimum.
That's it. That goes in there. The oven is already at 375. You can do all sorts of different, you can start it at 400 for half an hour to get like sort of the temp up and then drop it down to 350 or something. We'll check on this periodically and maybe futz with the temperature a little bit. It's currently in Graysville on its way to Browntown. I don't wanna disrupt it too much. As promised, we made our way to Browntown. Andrew left me. He had to go to his daughter's graduation. So it's just me finishing this recipe up. Sorry to anybody who that's disappointing to. So this was in the oven for 2 hours and 45 minutes at 360, 375. You saw it earlier. I pulled this out maybe of the oven maybe like an hour ago. Still warm, but you saw it in its gray form. Now it is mayor of Browntown over here. I'm gonna leave this aside for just a second while I get the rest going of this stew. So in that same pot, that's all the good stuff. I'm gonna start with some tomato paste. Let that sort of brown a little bit. I'm going to add, see, this is how I deal with lemongrass. You don't want like lemongrass you can't really chew on, but if you leave it in big old chunks that can be pulled out, whatever. Throw in a handful of garlic cloves. This is some ginger that we had minced earlier for the other episode of this, where we were making the lemongrass skewers. So that's maybe 2 tablespoons of ginger. Had these leftover chunks of carrot. So we'll just go in whole like that. So again, this is not Bo Kho, the delicious Vietnamese stew. I think Bo Kho actually has red wine in it. But in the same parts of Vietnam where you can have where like banh mi is more popular, or like where the bread took more hold. You know, you have all these like delicious stews and curries that are served with bread, with those fluffy baguettes that everybody loves so much. So like that's what Bo Kho is originally. This is just, Dave was gonna do a Sunday roast for the show and then pivoted to Vietnam. So this is what happens when you're halfway through making a Western or English style Sunday roast and someone says, wait, let's detour to Vietnam. That's what this recipe is from. We're gonna throw some tomatoes in there. You can just do these big old hunks of tomato. 2/5 of an onion. Obviously, I didn't add any fat here because that's all that was in there already. I'll throw some potatoes in there. And you know what? Just gonna go skin on. This is Chinese 5-spice. Let's see if I can remember them. Chinese 5-spice is Sichuan peppercorn, fennel, star anise, clove, and white pepper. No, not white pepper. What's the other thing? Cinnamon. Yeah, sorry, duh. A bunch of herbs. So these are just Thai basil leaves. And then, again, as always, some stems and leaves of cilantro. And the one thing I don't have as much of as Dave did on the show, he had pressure cooked a whole bunch of oxtails and made a really, really beefy broth. We have a little bit of that left, this oxtail broth. And this is what I'm talking about, like, even at room temp, look at that jiggle. That's all that collagen and gelatin in the meat. So that'll be the base. Add some more water. Spoonful, this is basically sambal. Fresh chili paste. A little spicy. We're gonna bring that all to a simmer. I'm gonna reintroduce the mayor of Browntown, and then we'll simmer it. So I'm gonna give this a second to come to a simmer, adjust for seasoning, and then we'll redeposit the meat. So, be right back. All right, so this is simmering. That's just like a good look for anything, right? That's just, there's not a lot of ways in which this is not gonna turn out delicious. And you know, there's tomato paste in here, but really most of this color comes from just like the browning of that meat. Ooh, that's spicier than I thought it'd be. I think you use a little more 5-spice. It wants to be pronounced. It needs a little sugar just to take the edge off. A little salt, a little MSG. Look at that. Like what? That's not gonna be good? That's somehow gonna turn out not good? All right, let's plop the mayor of Browntown back in there and let that go. We're just cooking this for as long as it takes for those vegetables to soften, for that beef to get its final little cook, but we'll simmer it for 30 minutes maybe tops. And baby, you got a stew going. So now our mayor of Browntown has been simmering for 30 minutes, 35 minutes. By the way, you can do this all a day in advance, whatever you need. To plate it, I'm gonna pull out this guy and hopefully not let it fall apart. Please don't fall apart. Going to just spoon, try to avoid these giant things of lemongrass, but whatever. We don't have any celebs eating this. We can work around those. I maybe did a little more liquid than I needed to in this, to be honest with you guys. I don't know if you're watching this and you think that Dave's version was much less watery. Maybe you're right. Whew, that's hot. So the work was all basically done in the pre-cook. Meat was pretty much tender already, or was. It's just sort of giving it this little bath and finishing it like this. And like I said, you can do this with rice, but really this is built for bread. And that is the Sunday roast inspired beef stew as Dave made it for Dinner Time Live, episode 115, Steak and Sensibility. Throw a few more of these carrots on there just for fun. This is a delightful baguette, but honestly, it's too fancy for this. It kind of has to be the soft banh mi style baguette to be ideal, but still, I'm not gonna complain. That was pretty good. This meat needed 15 minutes less in the oven. But, still pretty good. We started this episode with Andrew. Two men enter, one man leaves. We're gonna keep on making as many recipes as we can from Dinner Time Live to show you in slow motion, what it looks like to make the dishes that you see our dear friend Dave Chang making week over week on Netflix. So stick around, subscribe so you don't miss any of these recipes or whatever. Just keep watching. We'll keep on making these things. And don't forget to check out Dinner Time Live.